Hello, welcome back. Michael Reese here again, certified financial planning professional, coming up on 30 years in the industry. I mean, holy cow, it's a long time. Anyway, in our last video, we talked about secret number one of the three secrets to a successful retirement plan. And obviously, again, we can never guarantee a successful retirement, but we can certainly plan to give us the best opportunities. In any event, in our last video, we talked about secret number one, which was all about income planning. Retirement planning, again, it's not about growth and accumulation. It's about protecting your assets and generating income. Now, in this video, we're going to dive into secret number two. So let's go ahead and, we'll set up our screen here. Let's go ahead and pull up our presentation. And there we go. Okay, secret number two has to do, of course, with investing. So we talked about secret number one was about cash flow and income planning. And we shared in our last video how it's a good idea to take some portion of your retirement accounts and put them in a protected income bucket with its sole responsibility of generating income for you. Well, in this video, now we want to talk about, well, what do we do with the rest of the money? Well, we need to invest that money, but we want to do so intelligently. Now, what do we want when it comes to investing money when we're getting close to retirement and then during retirement? Well, we certainly want our money to grow. I mean, that's still a bit of a no-brainer, right? But this is also where we want to be very careful managing risk. And what I mean by that is, as you're getting close to retirement, as you're entering into retirement, I mean, that's the time of your life where you probably have the most money at risk. And remember that once you retire, probably what you have is all you're going to have, and it has to last. The last thing we want is to have a bad year in the markets where we lose a large chunk, a large percentage of what you've worked so hard to save. We don't want that. So let's go back to our model. We have our retirement savings. And in our last video, we talked about protected income. And if you haven't seen that, go ahead and go back and watch that. Now, what are the other two buckets when it comes to retirement planning? Well, we have a conservative growth bucket and we have a long-term growth bucket. And we break these into these two different categories for specific reasons. For conservative growth, this is where we're going to put money where we're going to be really controlling risk is going to be really important. We're looking for steadier returns. We're not trying to hit home runs. Think about conservative growth as hitting a lot of singles and doubles in baseball, right? We're trying for a high batting average. We want to hit lots of singles and doubles, not really worried about the home run, but we also don't want to strike out. This is also where we're going to take those non-regular distributions. So in our protected income bucket, that's where we take our ongoing lifestyle distributions. But every now and then you have something special that comes along. Maybe you've got a special trip. Maybe you've got a wedding that comes up. Maybe you have, that bucket list. I want to go to Australia. Maybe you need to buy a car. These are areas where you use your conservative growth account to provide that liquidity, to provide that unusual distribution that does not reflect what you would normally, that would normally represent your normal lifestyle spending. And then finally, the long-term growth, on the other hand, this is where we're trying to hit the home runs, right? This is our higher risk category. This is where you're going to see when the markets are really good, you're going to make a lot of money. When the markets are really bad, you're going to lose a lot of money. And time frame wise, this is also money that our objective when we put money into that account, we're not thinking about taking any income or distributions from that account for probably 10 years or longer. This is definitely long term. So let's dive into these two categories and let's identify, a little bit more about what we're looking for and what we're targeting in those categories. So when it comes to conservative growth, as I said, this is where we're just trying to hit a lot of singles and doubles. If we can average 7 to 10% returns over time. That's fantastic. But here's kind of what we're thinking. Let's say we have a really bad year in the stock market. It's 2008. We do not want to see more than a 15% loss in this category. So any money we put in conservative growth, we do not want to see these big 30, 40% losses. 15% is about as bad as we ever want that to get. On the other hand, in a really good year, if we're not going to take these big bad losses in the bad years, guess what? We're not going to get all the upside in the good years either. And if we can get, if the market's up 35% and we get 20 or 25 of it, man, that's awesome. This would represent the very edges of what you'd want to target. Normally, a bad year, you don't want to even get past -10. In a good year, you're probably not going to get past +20 normally. And this is typically where we're looking at really diversified portfolios, effectively diversified. I'm not talking like like we're talking in the last a video about the 50-50 or 60-40 portfolios. We need more diversification than that. This is where we're going to use stocks, bonds, real estate, alternatives, a whole range of different tools. And this is also where there are certain things called fixed indexed annuities that are focused on growth and growth only. There are only maybe a handful of these, maybe 3 to 5 of these tools out there total. There are probably 1,000 of these things out there, but there's only 3 to 5 of them that are really worth fitting in this category. So you want to be very careful about those if you choose them. The good news, the reason people like these FIAs is there are no downside. You can never lose money in these tools. However, there are liquidity restrictions. So you want to think through about what that looks like. And I don't want to go into detail on those in this video. It's just something to consider in your menu, if you will. Next, the long-term growth category. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is long-term growth? Now, this is where we're trying to target double-digit returns over time. Does that mean they're guaranteed? Of course not. But remember, this is longer term money, 10 years or more. We are going to see significant volatility from year to year. In 2008, you might see a 35% loss in this category, but in 2013 or something, you might get as much as 35% on the 45% on the plus side. So you can get really, really bad years, and you can get really, really good years. I mean, this is where, you got quite that swing. Typically, these are going to be stock-based portfolios. You're often going to see something called algorithms used. Algorithms are designed to help, when it looks like there are good years in front of us, getting really aggressive with the investing. If it looks like bad years are in front of us, like 2008, or 2022, you're trying to maybe get more defensive. Again, they're not perfect, but they tend to work reasonably well over time. And so when you put it all together, a portfolio in retirement might look something like this. Maybe half of your money is in protected income to stabilize your income for a long period of time. Maybe you take, and I've just kind of thrown some numbers up here. It really depends on your risk profile. You might say, okay, I've got 500 left over, or half of my portfolio left over. Maybe put 30% in conservative growth, maybe 20% what's left over in long-term growth. Now, it might be 35-15 conservative long-term on the growth side, or 40-10. Who knows? In your situation, it might be the other way, 200 in conservative, 300 long-term. But general rule of thumb, I'm going to tell you, in retirement, don't get too crazy with putting money in long-term growth. Don't go crazy there. It's okay to put some money there. Don't go crazy, because that far right bucket is the one that really hurts you when markets go south. So be prudent with your planning there. All right. Congratulations. We have solved secret number 1, which is your income planning. We've solved secret number 2, which is being an intelligent investor, especially with your allocations and setting things up strategically. Now, our next step and the topic of our next video is, okay, great. What do we do about taxes? How do we protect ourselves from the IRS, right? That's always a challenge. You know, you've worked hard, and let's get here. There we go. Okay, you've worked hard to build up your assets over time. Now, how do you protect them and keep those dollars at least as much as possible in your pocket versus just handing it off to the IRS? We'll see you in the next video.